Hello and welcome to How to Sell to Humans, the show for people with a passion to sell. My name is Timothy Ball. I'm a working sales and marketing professional, and this show is all about looking at the techniques in sales and marketing that really work today. In today's program I'm going to be talking about something slightly different. I've got a good friend of mine who I'll talk about in a following video. And he's building up his own business. I've been giving him some guidance and pointers in terms of sales and marketing. It turns out he's a big comic fan, just like I am. In fact, without going into too much on these things, I'm a big DC fan. I've been a fan of them for years. Definitely Superman, Batman. I'm a huge fan of theirs. But when you look at the actual movies, it's arguably a far bigger kind of cultural industry than comic books. Why is it that Marvel has been able to have the huge success it's had over the last 10 years since Iron Man 1 came out in 2008, while DC has kind of collapsed? And more importantly, what can we learn from that? So in thinking about today, I've been thinking about a number of different points about what happened, what changed. Now, without going into too much kind of comic book rights issues, basically years and years ago Marvel sold a lot of its rights to different characters. It sold, I think it was the X-Men characters to Fox, it sold Spider-Man to Sony, all these different people in different places. So what they ended up with was, when they came to creating their own comic, movie series, they had access to characters who were, while they were great, were very much kind of second-tier characters. It was back in the day, if you thought of Marvel, you thought of primarily Spider-Man or the X-Men, predominantly Wolverine or maybe Professor X. So they had this kind of limited set of characters to play with. Iron Man now is a huge individual, huge character. Everyone thinks of, you got a really iconic performance of Robert Downey Jr. But before 2008, he was the character was a B-lister, C-lister at most. So you had this whole situation where Marvel had a very limited tool set to play with. Now, and also as well, they didn't have, at that point, they didn't have the Disney money behind them. So they were very much in the process of saying, okay, well, what can we do here? Now, if you flip that around and look at the DC characters, they had some really big success with the Dark Knight movies, the Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale films, and that was about it. They tried to kind of make the Superman work again with Superman Returns, which is, I'm not going to talk about that today. So, but in terms of DC owned by Warner Brothers, they owned, and I'm pretty confident I'm right on this, they owned the rights to those characters. So at any moment, they could take those characters and put them in a movie. Now, I'm not going to talk about the things about the Hollywood system. I've had friends who sort of worked in some of those sort of fields, so I'm not going to talk too much about that kind of area. But what I want to draw first things upon is that Marvel had a very limited tool set to work with, whereas it could be argued DC suddenly had all these things they could play with. They can make a Superman movie, Batman films, all these other major characters. But one of the things Marvel did, and this is really making me think a lot about, there's a great book called The Power of Broke by Damon John. He's one of the sharks off America's Shark Tank. And one of the things he talks about is really embracing your limitations. So, embracing the fact you maybe don't have access to all these sort of amazing things, and really focusing on, well, what can I really truly succeed on here? So that was the first part of it. So Marvel had a very limited tool set to play with, but they absolutely decided to focus and build on that. So I would say, first of all, work with your limitations, work with what you can do, and building on from that, they also had there's a guy who's a producer, essentially in charge of the Marvel movies, called Kevin Feige. He's a brilliant, very clever producer. So if the first thing is recognizing and working with your limitations and using that to focus you, the next thing I would say is that part of the success of the Marvel Universe has been down to Kevin Feige. So he's been the visionary behind it. So it's a matter of getting a vision and really working with that. Sometimes it doesn't always necessarily work out. My understanding is that in the first kind of phase of the Marvel movies, building up from Iron Man to the first Avengers film, there was a lot of kind of building up and working on, okay, what can we prioritize here? But the second point is, make sure you've got a really clear visionary goal you're building towards, even if the details don't always, even if you don't have all the details worked out. For what I'm doing in my own market, I say very clearly my goal is I absolutely want to dominate the market I'm working in here in the UK that I'm selling into, and I want to do that by having great software that really helps people, which my customers tell me it does, and by having loads of happy customers as a result. So I'm very straight up when people tell me what, ask me what it is and what my vision is. So likewise, have that vision, even if you don't have all the details, have that vision piece. And thirdly, and I think this might be a little bit more controversial, but thirdly I would say part of, I think, Marvel's success has been in both hiring the right people and also perhaps firing people when they're not the right fit. This is a bit of a tougher one, but no one ever truly succeeds on their own. You have people who maybe they've built a lot of stuff up themselves, but they're always working with other people. So with Marvel, one of the big successes was hiring Robert Downey Jr., a guy whose career had been in the doldrums beforehand. He'd had all sorts of substance issues, run-ins with the law, all kinds of things in his past. But they recognised his good qualities, they recognised his real strengths. Likewise, the directors they hired sometimes are very interesting, very different. Jon Favreau for the Iron Man films 1 and 2, Joss Whedon for the first 2 Avengers movies, the Russos and some of these other people involved. They've been very clear on hiring different people. It's also quite clear at certain times they've also fired people, let people go who maybe weren't fitting in with those. That can be the really toughest thing. But I would say the third big thing they've done really well is hiring the right people. And I don't think anyone's not going to, you think Captain America now, you think of Chris Evans, you think of Thor, you think of Chris Hemsworth. So hiring the right people and also being ready and willing to fire the right people if they're not a good fit for what you guys are looking to do. So there's a lot more I can talk about this topic, but it was something that I've been really thinking of, about what it was that has been so successful for Marvel. So the kind of 3 big things that I'm really thinking about are working with your limitations and using those to push you to do better, to look at your limitations, actually say, what can I focus on, what can I really deliver on. Secondly, it's about having that vision piece. So you have that vision, even if you don't necessarily have all the details sorted out, have that vision, declare what it is you're looking to achieve. And thirdly, hiring and firing the right people around you. Really appreciate your thoughts and comments on this. I'm a big fan of the superhero films, not just superhero movies, but I'm really kind of keen to see what's happened. Marvel's been going from strength to strength. I'm actually quite disappointed in DC not really having that kind of level of success. If you ask me to be really geeky, I thought Man of Steel was pretty good. I like that kind of new version of Superman. I thought it was much better than Superman Returns. I thought Wonder Woman was great. My wife and I both really enjoyed that movie. Haven't yet seen Suicide Squad, though I've heard mixed things about it. Batman v Superman was just awful. It was dark and depressing and had no kind of joy or life to it. And then you also had Justice League, which is okay, but it just felt too much like DC was trying to catch up with Marvel. You know, rather than trying to do its own thing, it just sort of, ironically enough, it just kind of came across as someone trying to break into a new market, and rather than doing their own thing, just trying to follow up and sort of catch up and sort of chase along, but not actually do anything new or original. So really appreciate your thoughts about whether or not you agree with me on DC versus Marvel. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Please do make sure you subscribe and also check on the notifications button so you get informed of when new videos are coming up. For now, thanks for watching, take care and happy selling.